I get some version of this question asked all the time, which is something like, can my pet dog be a service dog? What do you think about shelter dogs being service dogs? Do you think this shelter dog could be a good service dog? Or even, oh my God, I saw this lady rehoming her dog on Facebook Marketplace. It's a really cute golden doodle. Do you think this dog would be a good service dog? So today I am answering the big umbrella question, which is, does a dog have to be purposely bred to be a service dog, or can any dog do it? And just to save you some time, the short answer is no, not any dog can do it. I'm not saying that to be harsh or gatekeepy. It's just the reality. When we're asking our dogs to do tasks out in public, we're actually asking a lot of a dog, meaning they have to have that right temperament, the right genetics to be able to handle those novel experiences. And it takes a very special type of dog to do it. In this video, I'm gonna be straightforward, and I wanna let you know, I'm gonna break down what exactly to look for. But as someone with a disability, I know that you most likely already have limited energy. You don't wanna spend 1 to 2 years training a dog who wasn't the right fit to begin with. My goal is to save you time, money, and emotional investment, because the last thing you wanna do is dedicate 1 to 2 years training a dog who doesn't have the right genetics and or temperament to begin with. So here's what we're covering today. I'm gonna break this down into 3 categories of dogs, and for each one, I'm gonna show you how to assess temperament and health, because those 2 things are really, really important when determining whether a dog should even start and begin service dog training. Before diving in though, an important caveat.
Just a tiny little bit.
I wanna say this, even if your dog looks perfect today, especially if they're young and not fully mature, a lot can change. While I'm giving you a snapshot of your dog right now, it is never a guarantee, and that's probably the hardest part of self-training a service dog. Major service dog organizations will retest their dogs every 1 to 2 years because temperaments can shift, not only after traumatic experiences, but even as a puppy develops into an adult dog. Also, health can change too. So we want to check in on both behavior and health regularly throughout training. So with that being said, these are the 3 categories. Category 1, we're going to talk about a puppy obtained from a well-researched, reputable breeder with a history of placing service dogs. Category 2 is going to be your current pet dog, and category 3 is going to be a rescue or rehome dog. So let's start with category 1, because this is going to be the option that gives you the best odds. If you don't have a dog yet, getting a puppy from a reputable breeder is where you're going to have the most control. You can find a breeder that does all appropriate health testing, who does early neurological stimulation and proper socialization, and who is specifically breeding lines with a history of producing successful service dogs. That last part really matters because you want to look at their track record, not just that they health test, but they have dogs that actually have gone on to do the work. And I also want to be really clear about this. I've noticed online that the messaging around reputable breeders has kind of shifted into, if you go to a reputable breeder, you're guaranteed the perfect dog. And while it wasn't exactly that, it's kind of implied, right? But I just want to clarify that this is not true. What you're doing is decreasing the odds of health issues and temperament problems, but it is never 100% guarantee. Dogs wash out of service dog training all the time. Stress that develops later, reactivity that shows up after a traumatic experience, like someone knocking over a trash can that hits a pole with a wasp nest, the dog gets stung, and now they're scared of unpredictable sounds. That's a real story. So you genuinely cannot control everything. There's also always lifestyle mismatch. A high energy dog might be a great service dog prospect for someone else, but if your lifestyle is lower activity, that dog is going to be under-enriched, and that makes training really challenging. And of course, even with the best genetics, if you're newer to training, there's always a learning curve.
It's a learning curve.
But having the right temperament at least gives you the most wiggle room to mess up a little bit and have the dog still be okay. I'm not gonna dive too deep into it because I have a whole separate video on finding the right breeder and doing the puppy temperament test. I'll link to it in the cards above, and I encourage you to go watch that if you're thinking about going this route. One more thing, when you're looking at health tests, actually read them. Some breeders post health tests as a marketing move, but if you actually read the test, the dog they bring Fred had a heart condition. So you want to look at the actual results, not just the fact that testing was done in general. There are some great Facebook groups and Reddit threads to really find the truth about certain breeders. Okay, category 2 is going to be your current pet dog. This is where a lot of people get stuck because they'll say, oh, my dog naturally alerts me to my panic attacks. I didn't even have to train them. That is genuinely amazing. And that's a great trait for a service dog to have. But a naturally alerting dog at home and a dog who can handle full public access training are two very different things. I should note though that if you only need your dog to task at home, the bar is a little bit lower because public access is the part that determines whether your dog is safe to have out in public, in a community, in novel environments. So keep that in mind. Home tasking is still really valuable and something that can really help you out no matter what. But if you're evaluating your current pet for full public access service dog work, here's how you can assess them. Step 1, screen for automatic disqualifiers. And I want to be clear, this doesn't mean your dog is bad. It means your dog is normal. Public access is an extremely high standard. So just because your dog does some of these, it doesn't mean that your dog is a bad dog.
Because I'm normal.
Okay, so automatic no's are going to be has ever bitten a person, lunged or snapped at a person, extreme anxiety in new environments, uncontrolled reactivity, very high prey drive, and resource guarding, which is a big one. Resource guarding is a safety issue in public because you just can't control whether a stranger is going to reach for something near your dog. A dog that resource guards is not safe to have out in public spaces because even if you're not giving them bones, you can't control whether they find one that someone dropped, a cheeseburger that someone dropped, and the kid grabs it, right? So that's why it's important. Step 2 is going to be tolerance of handling. Going back to the kid example, service dogs get touched unexpectedly. A kid might yank their tail, stranger, an adult reaches for their face. Your dog needs to be able to tolerate things like collar grabs, paw handling, ear checks, towel rubs, without growling, showing extreme fear-based reactions, or just super stiff, right? Now, they don't have to love it. Most dogs don't love having someone look in their ears, but there should be no extreme reaction. If there already is, that tends to get worse with more exposure, not better. That is, unless you're using a protocol that works on counter conditioning their fear around being handled. The next thing you can test is startle and recovery. Real life is loud, phones drop, shopping carts rattle, things fall off shelves, especially if you're clumsy like me, and your dog can startle, which is normal. What we're looking for is recovery. If your dog is still hypervigilant and pacing 30 minutes after something is dropped, that's a sign public access is going to be too much for them. We want a dog that goes, oh, weird, and moves on. We're not looking for robots, so they can kind of act surprised and look, but they should recover pretty quickly. The next thing you can test for is neutrality around people, kids, and other dogs. A service dog doesn't need to love everyone. Actually, it's better if they're not obsessed with meeting people, but we want calm neutrality. Some excitement or jumping isn't automatically a deal breaker, especially if you haven't worked on any training yet for that, but it's something you definitely need to address before committing to the full training process and something you want to work through. Quick ADA note. The ADA does not require your dog to love kids. And yes, technically kids shouldn't be approaching your dog anyway, but here's my stance. I train beyond what the ADA requires because if your dog bites a kid, even if they've never bit a kid before, every dog is capable of biting, could possibly be a lawsuit. So depending on your state, that could worst case result in behavior euthanasia. And I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm saying it because any dog can bite under enough stress. Even the sweetest dog you've ever met, eventually can be pushed to that, right? Think about it this way. Most people have never hurt another person, but if someone was trying to hurt them or someone they loved, they might try to fight back. Dogs are the same. If they feel like they're in serious danger, they may bite, or if they're pushed over and over and over again, they might eventually growl, bite, or snap, which is why I always recommend training past the legal minimum. I also recommend having some kind of documentation from a licensed medical professional that a service dog has been recommended for your disability. I get comments on this all the time, which is the ADA doesn't require it, which is true, but if you ever face a legal dispute, not having any sort of record around your disability is not going to look good. Okay, with that said, let's talk about the next thing you can train for, which is trainability and focus. focus. Can your dog respond reliably to basic cues like their name, sit, down, stay, leave it in a new environment? Public access work is basically just foundational skills with a massive amount of distraction added. A downstay on an airplane is still technically a downstay. It's just that the floor might move a little bit, the space is tight, there are people everywhere, and they have to downstay for a very long time. My dog Waffles is a great example of a dog who would never be a good service dog candidate. She loves people, she's wonderful at the brewery, but she has zero drive to train. I shouldn't say zero, but very low drive, and her prey drive is really, really high. Not a bad dog, just not the right dog for this job. So if your dog doesn't have foundational skills yet, it's okay, but work on those first to really kind of see their drive before committing to service dog training. And a lot of the early kind of stages of service dog training are going to benefit your pet dog training anyway, so it's not gonna hurt to start training. Last but not least, let's talk about rescue and/or shelter dog. I wanna say up front that I love rescue dogs. I work with incredible dogs at the shelter that I work at as a trainer, and I love all of them, but if your goal is specifically a service dog, here's why I generally don't recommend starting with a shelter dog. The big issue is there are a lot of unknowns. Shelter dogs, first off, if they're in the actual shelter, are severely under-enriched. They spend most of their day in a small kennel with limited human contact. When you meet them, they might be bouncy and leash pulley, and that might just be under-exercise from being in the shelter, not their true temperament. Or on the flip side, they might appear very calm and well-behaved, but more because they're completely shut down and really nervous, and as you have them in your home, they're gonna start to open up. Both of these scenarios can flip once the dog settles in. I'll actually use Toast, my new cat, as an example. He was snuggly and perfect at the shelter, and he is now an absolute menace 3 months into living with us. So it's not just dogs. A lot of animals, if they're put in that situation, are gonna show their true personality as they decompress.
I need a day or two to decompress.
You also don't know what type of experiences the dog had or how they're gonna respond to your specific environment or who they'll become once they're fully comfortable with you, which is why it's really hard to do a temperament test for service dog work in the shelter. That said, there are still things you can look for, like 1, do they recover quickly from loud noises? 2, do they have the ability to settle? 3, are they neutral towards other dogs? There's still those definite no's like resource guarding, reactivity, snapping, lunging at people, bite history. Even if those are under stress, because it's in their history, more likely to resurface in stressful situations in the future since that behavior has already shown up. It's also worth noting that if you find a purebred at the shelter, there's a good chance it came from a backyard breeder or was surrendered due to health issues. So even if the temperament seems right, there may be underlying health problems that you won't discover until later. Don't get me wrong, there are unicorns at the shelter.
Seriously?
Amazing, amazing dogs. It's just a lot more rare. Okay, so I want to talk about health really quickly again, because this applies across all 3 categories. Temperament isn't the only thing. Health matters just as much, if not more. So even if your dog has the perfect temperament now, if they develop pain and they feel pain from arthritis, hip dysplasia, structural issues, either now or in the future, it is just not ethical to make them work as a service dog. Service dog work is physically demanding. Walking on hard or slippery floors, long days on their feet, tight spaces, random people that might try to grab them in a sore area, and that is a real physical toll. We should never ask a dog to do that job at the cost of their own well-being. Okay, so to wrap up, can any dog be a service dog? No, but can you give yourself the best chance possible? Yes, by being really thoughtful about the dog you start with and doing honest temperament and health assessments before you start investing in 1 or 2 years of training. Your 3 options are: 1, a reputable breeder with a history of placing service dogs is going to give you the best odds. 2, your current pet dog is possible if they pass that assessment. And 3, a rescue is going to be the highest risk option, but not impossible. So ultimately, we're trying to protect 2 things: your dog's well-being and the safety of the community around you. Drop a comment and let me know, which camp are you in? Breeder, current pet, or rescue? I'd love to know. And if you have a topic you want me to cover next, leave a comment below. I'm always looking for new ideas when it comes to creating YouTube videos. All right, that's it for today, and I will see you in the next video.